So yeah, like I said before, today it's our first meeting of the year. I'm really excited. I'm always excited at the beginning of the year. For those who know me, because I'm really sort of like I'm very pro New Year resolutions. I know some people are not great, they're not great fans of New Year's resolutions. I love New Year's resolutions, and therefore usually this time of the year is very exciting for me, because I get to almost like start a fresh page, if you like, start setting your goals again. If I kind of messed up some stuff last year, then I can turn around and say, right, last year was last year. I've got a brand new year here, and I can make a difference, and therefore I can kind of start on a clean slate, if you like. So it's a really exciting time for me. I hope it's going to be a really exciting time for you.
It's a new year with 365 pages in the book.
There you go. There you go. So I've got 365 pages to write on. Brilliant. That's brilliant. So yeah, and like I said in the little ad video that I sent earlier, we are continuing the conversation that we started towards the end of last year about how to prepare yourself for your best year yet. It's all about the roadmap for 2022, and yeah, if you saw that ad, I kind of gave a bit of a hint of what we're going to be talking about. That if you look at success is not by accident, and we all know that success is if you want to be successful in anything, you have to be intentional, you have to be deliberate, you have to make plans for it, and bear with me 1 second. Yeah. So I said that success is like a process, and a very meticulous one, that you really have to put an effort into it if you want to be successful. And we see that this everywhere. I mentioned about education when we're at school. There is a curriculum. You need to prepare yourself. You need to do a lot of studying. A lot of hard work. A lot of late nights. So there is a lot that you put into in order to be successful at school. I mean, the same thing in places of work. Maybe you might not be very apparent to an employee, but a lot has been put in place to ensure that your work is successful. You've got policies in place, you've got guidelines, you've got vision, you've got the strategies that the company or the organization that you work for has put in place. You've got all these things, and you've got a business model, you've got business systems if you're self-employed and you're running your own business, and all these things are preparations, things that have been put in place and written up. Most of them are actually written down to ensure that whatever venture that is being undertaken is successful. But then when it comes to our individual lives, sometimes we take a more laid-back approach to our lives and our own circumstances and things that we deal with, and we are not as intentional with our own lives the way we are intentional when it comes to our jobs, for instance, or with our education, or any other thing for that matter. And so the challenge that I'm posing to you on the outset is that we need to look at our lives more holistically and be more intentional in the way that we approach our own lives. What I tend to tell my friends is, you need to run your life as if you're running a multi-million-dollar corporation. You are the CEO of your own life, if you like. I'm the CEO of Charles Stephen Incorporation. You know what I mean? And therefore, I'm taking my life seriously, and the things to do with me personally, I take them really seriously. I prepare myself well. I prepare for my own success, my own personal development. The areas of personal development. My relationships, my finances, my businesses, my lifestyle, everything. I need to prepare myself. I need to write it down as well. And if I have my goals and my plans, I need to be very deliberate and very intentional in the way I'm going about doing that. And that's the topic of our conversation today. How can we prepare ourselves? A certain wise man said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that a life not worth documenting is not a life worth living. And he was talking about that in encouraging people to do journaling, but that can be applied also in goal setting. If you can't take time to sit down and almost like pre-plan what you want to do for this year, for instance, and say like, right, this is what I want to achieve this year, then according to him, is that the life not worth documenting is not worth living. What's the point of you going through a year almost like wishing and hoping something great will happen if you haven't actually planned for it? And so planning is really important. But then last week, we also saw that the problem with most of us, and probably this is the reason that sometimes we're not great fans of New Year's resolutions, is that we don't actually make resolutions. Most of the times we're actually making wishes, and therefore people go around at the beginning of the year, and then off the cuff they just go like, oh, I wish, I would like to achieve this year. I want to achieve, I want to change a job this year, or I want to lose some weight this year, or I want to do this or that and the other this year. But that to me is not a resolution. That's just a wish. Because a good example of a resolution is, think of a company. Have you ever heard of a board resolution in a company? Okay. Like a board resolution in a company, when they make a resolution, first and foremost, before they sit down to make a decision on what to do, they have to go back and look what has been happening. Has it worked so far? Has it not worked so far? What challenges have we been having? And once they have all the data and seen how everything works, then they can go forward and after they've gone through the SWOT analysis, look at the strengths and weaknesses of the company and all that stuff. Then they can make the resolutions and say, right now, this is what we want to achieve in the next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. And then that's how they make the resolutions. Then the resolutions turns into strategies, and strategies turns into implementation. Before you know it, they're policies, and employees like you and I will walk in and start implementing those policies. But that's how resolutions are made. But when it comes to our personal lives, we don't take that same sort of approach when we come to making New Year's resolutions. We just sort of wake up on the 1st of January and we're like, oh, it's a new year. Oh, this is what I want to achieve this year. But we haven't actually looked back and seen why we haven't achieved it for all the years that we have gone past, or what are the challenges, or what are our values. Why is it that every year I make these resolutions, they don't actually come to fruition? It's some kind of a SWOT analysis of our own lives, if you like. But yeah, so the aim of our conversation is to kind of go through that and see how we can actually make resolutions that actually work, or set goals, if it's not just at the beginning of the year, if it's other times of the year. How can you set goals that actually do work and that can make a difference in your life? Okay, so basically that's the conversation we're going to be having today. For those that are new to this platform, we are called Lifetime Success Seminars. My name is Charles Stephen. I'm a co-host of this platform alongside Stephen Buraganya, who is already here as well, I think. Yeah. So we run these programs every fortnight, every other Saturday, and the topics of our conversations are usually around personal development. So anything to do with business, finance, lifestyle, health, fitness, mental health, anything to do with personal development. That's our area. So we raise these conversations to our communities, and it's not just us talking to you. It's a conversation that we share. We share experiences. Sometimes we have presentations. We have debates even at times. We don't agree on all things, but we're just raising this conversation because these are really important conversations to have, and I think we don't have them often enough. So this is almost like that moment to kind of sit and reflect on how we can actually improve our own actions and our own lives in general. So in a nutshell, that's who we are. And we don't work in isolation. We work in partnership with different organizations locally and elsewhere. We work very in close partnership with Utulivu Women Group, and we've got Cecily Mwaniki, who's the leader of that group and the founder, and we'll give her time to say a little bit about that group and their programs. But we also work with ECHA as well, the Alliance for Cohesion and Racial Equality. So we're not working in isolation, and many other groups as well. So we're trying to collaborate to make a difference to our communities, and that's what we're here for. So in a nutshell, that's us. Paul, you had your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to say? I can't hear you, Paul. You're on mute.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think a lot of people make the mistake of making their goals too big, and then you don't achieve them, and you knock yourself back, and you think, and then you just don't bother. So I think the key is to make small goals and then increase them steadily, bit by bit, rather than going, right, I'm going to completely turn into some amazing fitness guru within the first 6 months, because it's better to do small things. Like a friend of ours, she's quite elderly, and she made a pact because her grandchildren, she realised she was overweight.
Yeah.
And she made a pact for that year. She was going to walk around her block. It's quite a big block, in the morning and in the evening every day. That was it. And she did. And within 18 months, she lost 4 stone. Just by simply walking around her block twice a day. Just so small, little, tiny things can make big improvements, but takes a bit longer. But sometimes it's better that than do something big and not achieve it and just give up.
Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on there, Paul. Yeah. You, at the end of the day, you need to take a step at a time. It doesn't matter how far you want to go. You still need to take that first step. So as you really need to break your goals down into these tiny little chunks that you can go through them on a daily basis, and usually it's the daily habits, isn't it, that make a difference in our lives. What you do on a regular basis, that power of repetition, isn't it? We've had that conversation thing in the past, and absolutely. So I totally agree with you, Paul. Emeka, you've got your hand raised. Did you have something you want to say, brother?
Yes, Charles.
Go for it.
Something I wrote in regards to New Year's Day. One of my writings, I sent it to you. So hearing about you are talking about New Year. Something I did write on New Year's Day when I came back on New Year's Eve that made me realize to write my goals down, to emphasize on them. The new decade walks in majestically with such class, which epitomizes an alluring confidence that is so welcoming. It draws our attention to its stunning grand entrance, which encourages renewing the faith due to the strong substance it would play in our personal world. Sorry, in one's personal world. So basically, in relation to what you said, it's all about we welcome the new year. The new year has an impact in our lives in a positive way or negative way based on how we want to receive it. But it's down to us to decide, like you mentioned, being the CEO, to decide what we really want to do and what influence the new year will play in our lives to help us evolve and grow, especially when focusing on our goals. That's basically all I'll add. Yeah.
Absolutely. In case you guys don't know, Emeka is a great writer and he's a passionate writer. He writes lots of these little sort of like quotes, and he tends to share them around. He tends to send them to me as well, and they carry such a lot of meaning. Thank you so much, Emeka, for that. But you're absolutely right. I think taking control of our own lives is really important. I love William Ernest Henley. A great Victorian poet who wrote that famous Invictus poem. And in the last bit of it, it says, "I'm the master of my own fate. I'm the captain of my soul." And I think that carries a lot of meaning. That we need to be able to take control of our lives and take control and take responsibility for our successes and failures. And I think we have that sort of mentality. We'll become more serious, if you like, with how we start our year, not just the year, how we start our day even. You know, what is it that I want to achieve today? What is it that I want to achieve this week? What is it that I want to achieve this month? What is it that I want to achieve this year? Because that is a very good starting point. And then once you start from there, you can really assess yourself and see how you improve from there going forward. Yeah, are we all good? Are we all in the same boat? Any other comment? Any other thing someone wants to chip in and add? Anyone that was here last time wants to say something, or anybody else for that matter?
Just a comment that I saw at my Noah's kickboxing gym, and it says a black belt is just a white belt that never quit. And I think that's quite a good little statement. And what was it? Winners never quit, and quitters never win. That's the two sort of things that they try and focus on.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming the white belt is where you start, isn't it? That's the belt you're given when you go into the gym for the first time, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, the difference is between an amateur and that that victor, that conqueror, that professional. He's not that those guys have got 3 eyes or 10 legs. It's just that they just didn't quit. I think that's a really good analogy in that sense. That what it takes is just that consistency and repetition, and keep doing the right things, and you will see a difference in your lives. Now, if you guys would allow me, if I could share with you a couple of slides of what we've been talking about last time, and then we can continue a little bit from there, and then I'll be allowing discussions as we go on that. Allow me to share with you my screen. But before I do that, just a quick one. We've got a wonderful chat section here. So if you have a question, for instance, or if something that someone has said or I've said or during my presentation really resonated well with you, just type it away there, and so that you can air your views, and we can have a more rich discussion. So you could interject and air your point as we speak, or you could just put it on the chat section, and then we can have a bit of a dialogue, a bit of a discussion, a bit of an interaction in this meeting, because this is not just a one-way conversation. So we need to hear from each other and really enrich ourselves from the conversation that comes from all angles. So please use the chat section as much as you can, and I'll be policing it every now and again. If there is any question, then I'll try and air it to the group, and then we can try and address it together. Having said that, allow me to share with you my screen quickly, and then we can get going. Right. Now, I'll do a quick summary of what we talked about last time. I was sharing the my personal take on starting the year well, and about setting New Year's resolutions and about setting goals. And like I said before, we need to move away from making New Year wishes to actually making New Year resolutions. And this was my proposed way of doing it. And it's an 8-step process where you're becoming very meticulous at organizing and preparing yourself for success. Like I said before, success doesn't come by chance. Success, sometimes you think, oh, this person is successful because he's so lucky. But no, there is a quote that says luck is when opportunity meets preparation, isn't it? Something like that. Or preparation meets opportunity, one way or the other. I'm not quite sure, but you get the vibe. So it's all about preparation. It's all about you setting yourself up for success, and then opportunities do come along the way. There are opportunities everywhere. In fact, if you're not prepared, most of the opportunities will pass you by without you even realizing it, because you don't actually expect them. And if you're not expecting something, chances are you won't notice it. You know that analogy of familiarity? Before I bought my car, I'm driving an Alfa Romeo. Before I had my Alfa Romeo, I never noticed any Alfa Romeo out there. As soon as I got my Alfa Romeo, I mean, almost every other car on the road is an Alfa Romeo right now, because I noticed them a lot more. Why? Because I've got an interest, a vested interest in that car. So it's the same thing with success. When you prepare yourself for it, when you've written down your goals, when you know a direction that you want to go, then you start seeing opportunities that will take you there. Why? Because you have vested interest in that thing, and you've prepared yourself for it. So what did we see last time? Let's see. I said it's an 8-step thing. First thing we saw was commitment, that you need to have a commitment. Like I said before, we have to move away from living a very sort of like laissez-faire life. And what do I mean by that? You can be extremely busy at work. You can be an extremely busy person and still be laissez-faire with your life. In the sense that you're really good at what you do for other people's ventures, like your employment, for instance, or this, that, or the other. But when it comes to your personal life, your personal ambitions, your personal development, your personal goals, you're sort of lax, you're sort of relaxed about it. You don't really take it seriously. So the first thing you need to do is you need to take yourself more seriously. Commitment is extremely important. And I have this quote that real transformation will not come unless you learn to take yourself very seriously. We looked at step 2, which is year-end review. You definitely need to look back on the last year. The mistake that most of us make is that we make New Year's resolutions at the beginning of the year, like right now, but we don't take time to actually look back. How did we live our year last year? Because if you don't review, then chances are you'll end up making the same mistakes you made last year. If you don't review, you might set goals this year that don't really reflect you. They don't really reflect your values. They don't really reflect who you are and where you want to go. So reviewing your past year can really help you. The same way, like I told you before, a company makes the resolutions, they sit back, they get all the reports, the annual reports, financial reports, a report from the HR, all these reports, see how the company has been faring for the whole year, and then they do their SWOT analysis to see what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, where they want to go. They look at their vision. Probably the CEO will have a speech there to say what the vision of the company is, and then after that, that's when they make resolutions. As okay, now this is what we want to do for this year. Once they've known where they came from, the mistakes they've made, why they made those mistakes, whether they can make changes to those things, and then you can move forward to actually setting the goals, making resolutions for next year. So year review is extremely important. And in year review, we saw lots of things you can do: greatest events, greatest accomplishments, greatest lessons, personal improvement, influences, more scary services done, this biggest risk taken, most important relationships improved. So basically, these are just sort of like pointers, like what sort of things, because sometimes you ask yourself, right, I'm reviewing my year. What am I looking for? What am I trying to review? So these are like pointers, the things you can kind of look back and say, okay, how did that go? How well did I do in that area? What happened in this area? But this list is by no means exhaustive. You can have a million more things here to add to your list, things to do more or less for the following year, because there are things you might have been doing a lot last year, but they didn't do you any good. So do you want to do less of them, or the things that you were doing last year and they worked brilliantly for you, and you want to do more of them this year? So it's very important to do that review before you start setting your goals for a new year. So that's step 2. Step 1, commitment. Step 2, year review. Step 3 is gratitude. Now, this is something we don't take too much time to do. Gratitude is not just saying thank you, because a lot of times we think a grateful person is a person that says thank you. Oh, this person is very ungrateful because they didn't say thanks. Yes, that is part of gratitude, but gratitude is a lot more than that. Gratitude is to have the attitude of reflecting on the positive things in your life. That's what gratitude is, to have that habit. And it's a deliberate habit, and it's something that you have to do intentionally, to have the habit of reflecting on the positive things that has happened in your life. And that could be in your life personally, it could be in the life around you. The habit of gratitude could be you're walking around the road and you're appreciating the creation. You're appreciating how great the nature is. You're walking down and it's pouring, and rather than you swearing and cursing the heavens for bringing down the rain and getting you drenched, you're actually appreciating what that rain might bring to the farmers. You're appreciating how great it is that this cycle continues from generation to generation. It rains and it never stops, or it only rains on particular seasons. So that attitude of positivity, that attitude of appreciating things that are happening in your life and around you as well, is what gratitude is. And it is such a powerful tool, I can tell you that. Most successful people, this is one thing they might not mention, but this is one thing that sets them apart. They are such positive in every area. Even when they're in the midst of failure, they would still look for glimpse of positivity and hang on to it. Why? Because gratitude is what is like the springboard. It's what makes you spring up into the greater heights that you want to go to this year. So gratitude is really important, guys. And in gratitude, we looked at 3 most amazing people in your life. So you need to appreciate people in your life. Because sometimes it's very easy when you see people sitting down and having conversation and start gossiping about people and saying bad about people, or complaining about what people have done to them. And sometimes that sort of negative conversation can really dominate most conversations, at places of work, with our friends and stuff. But it's very important to kind of step back and reflect on most amazing people in your life, your friends, reflect on how great your friends are, how great your family is, even, your spouse, your children. It's very important to do that, because that's what gratitude is. 3 great things about your home. Do you ever take time to appreciate your home? A place, that provides you warmth and shelter and security and safety, a place where, after you've had such a hard day's work, you can come back and just be yourself and not worry about what you're going to say or how you're going to look or anything. Do you appreciate your home? Three great things about the place of work. You'll be amazed, if people don't appreciate their work as much as they should. It's all about, oh, my manager this, my manager that, oh, this work, oh, they do this, they do that, oh, they brought these new changes now, oh, they've done this, but then do you take time to actually appreciate what your work brings to you, the sense of purpose that you have as a result, livelihood even, you wouldn't be able to pay your bills if you didn't have that work, you wouldn't be able to meet friends if you didn't have that work, you need to have that attitude of appreciating the things that you have, because it's really important. Gifts, talents, skills. Do you appreciate your skills? Do you appreciate your gifts? Do you appreciate your talents? Don't wait for someone else to tell you how great you are. Sometimes you just need to give yourself a pat in the back and say, you know what, I'm so great. I don't need to wait for someone to tell me, I'm so good at this, or I'm so good at that. That thing I did last week for that guy, oh, that was fantastic. I should do that more. So, but if we don't do this deliberately, chances are you'll never do it. And I'll tell you why. Humans, naturally, we are survival creatures. We are creatures of survival. What does that mean? It means that we put more emphasis on the dangers than on the good things. Like, it's easier for me to remember something bad that someone did to me 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago than for me to remember something good that someone did for me 6, 5, 3, 4 years ago. And that's natural, because if I get threatened, my body puts more emphasis on that, puts more, consent to that, because I've been threatened, and because I'm a creature of survival, I need to do something about it. But if everything is nice and people are being good to me, I relax, and my mind doesn't really take that into account. And that's why it's very easy to forget the good things and keep remembering the bad things. So and that's why it's very important to counteract that with positivity in a very deliberate fashion, because naturally you wouldn't do that. One person actually said that every negative thing has to be counteracted by so many positive things to kind of make it even. One-on-one doesn't work. And that's because naturally we get drawn towards the negative stuff, naturally, because we're creatures of survival. So gratitude is really important. Otherwise, we'll get drawn to the negativity, which, if anything, just brings us down and just allows us to survive rather than thrive, because we need to thrive rather than just survive. Okay. So 3 areas of knowledge and experience. You need to appreciate areas that you're good at, things that you know, because once you start exploring these areas, you start realizing what areas you need to do more in your life. And what areas give you more satisfaction. For instance, with me, I know I really enjoy doing these meetings. I enjoy talking to you guys and having these conversations. To me, that makes me tick, like what my son said to me earlier. Like, Daddy, I realize you get so excited every Saturday when you have a meeting. And it's true, because to me, it's such an exciting thing to do, to share what I know, to share what I've learned over the weeks, what I've learned last week. Even sometimes I come to you and I share stuff I've learned actually this week, and it's really fresh and I'm really excited. And I just want to talk to you and tell you what I've learned, So it's very important to have that positive mindset and look back on your own life and really appreciate yourself for it. 3 luck experiences in your life, very important, to look back and reflect on that as well. Step 4, we looked at life assessment, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this today. If you're not here last week and you want to know more about life assessment, because it's a very important area to go through, you inbox me, look for me personally at your own time. I can tell you more about it. But life assessment is all about the circle of life. You know about the wheel of life, all the 8 areas I mentioned about areas of personal development, relationship, family, physical, mental, business, finance, spiritual, and lifestyle. So basically, you need to do an assessment of your life in all these areas. Anything to do with your life would fall in one of these categories in one way or another. So you need to actually do your life assessment using these 8 areas and look at each one of them and see how well you're doing. And there is an algorithm for it. There are questions you can ask yourself and score yourself and really see visually how well you're doing. And we use a chart like that to plot yourself. And the idea is for you to end up with a really nice circle, really big round circle on this thing here. I don't know whether you can see my cursor. something that goes round like that. Okay, that's what you're looking for. If you end up with something that small, not so great. If you end up with something so big on one side, very small on the other, then you can say that your life is unbalanced, which has its own problems. And I think one time we talked about balanced life here, and we said, why is it so important? I'm not going to go and delve into that today, but it's very important to make sure that your life is not really skewed to one way, because sometimes that's the problem that a lot of people do have. Someone might be really good in their profession, for instance, but they are really bad in their relationships. You have Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world. Well, not anymore, but very wealthy, very successful, a great entrepreneur. So when you look at the area of business and maybe finance, he's like 10 out of 10. But then he ended up in a divorce. And so probably the area of relationship, maybe he's not faring so well. So you kind of think, how can one person be so good in one area and be so bad in the other? And so it's important to kind of have that sort of holistic view of your life and do that assessment to see where you're faring, how you're faring in all these areas. And because that will almost like inform you what areas you need to improve in the coming year. And it is such fun trying to assess your life. You'll find out about you almost like go through a journey of self-discovery, and you'll find out so much about yourself that you never knew existed in you. And it's so much fun. I always look forward at the beginning of the year, because I do these life assessments. In fact, I do it quarterly, but we'll see that later. But it's very important to do that to kind of see how it is like, because that will guide you how to proceed forward. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's what we did last year before we went on a little break. And today I just want us to go through the last 4 steps, which is step 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then we can have a fantastic discussion afterwards. Now, but before I go into that, I just want to take a quick break from the presentation, and then if anybody has something to say, we can have a bit of a conversation while I look at the chats really quickly. What do you think?
Yes. Okay, let me try. Yep. Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. Thank you so much, Chaz, for the presentation. Number one, I think one of the things that I was interested is to have that holistic view, because I remember, I think 2 days I was discussing with my wife here about success in life, and then I was just saying, what is success? Because most of the time we just define success probably on those people who have made it and then have got a lot of money, or they're celebrities in movies, but you find that they're bad in relationship. You find that they don't have probably time with their children. So we have made successful to somebody who probably has got money, has got mansions or private jets and stuff, but we have not looked at it on totality. So I like that idea of what you have said, that we have to have a balanced life, okay, which is very important, because otherwise our definition of success is kind of like flawed. And then another thing that I wanted to point out as well is, I was listening to somebody and he said something important, that instead of focusing on goals, focus on habits. For example, this year you want to probably to make $1 million, and you need to make that, you need to do something in order to reach that goal. Instead of focusing on goal, focus on habits, what you need to do daily. Because if you have a successful day, then accumulation of those days, they will help you to reach to that goal. So instead of focusing on goals and those big plans, focus on habits. Because if you have good habits, then they will actually push you to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So instead of focusing on goals, let us focus on habits. So you will evaluate and make sure that you build good habits, which will ultimately take you to the destination that you want to reach. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. Emeka, I see your hand up. Do you want to say something, bro?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to piggyback on what Linian just said. My own definition of success and everything I know, yes, being from Africa, I know you can, I know, Charles, you can relate to where I'm coming from. You know how they think in Africa in terms of having everything, material wealth and everything. But but the way I look at it as I've gotten older, success to me is relative. It's based on how we see things. In Africa, where I come from, it might be based on having material wealth and success, material wealth and every other thing else. But the way I look at it, like, is based on the impact you make in people's lives. Because when you are long gone, when you are long gone, you can't take your wealth with you to the grave. I mean, look at people like Desmond Tutu, Mandela. Look at they were legendary icons, but they left an impact in the world today that people remember them for something really good. Because I was having this discussion with some friends of mine where I work out at the gym. But of course, and they are from other countries, they are from African countries. They felt I was being delusional. That trust me, money is really important. Without money, you won't go places. And I said that is so true. I agree with that. But at the same time, it's about not letting that thing define who you are as a person. Because when you are long gone, what the real question is, what will people remember you for? Nothing wrong in having goals, don't get me wrong. But the main thing is about focusing on the impact you will leave in people's lives and being more or less like a blueprint to a certain degree. What will I be remembered for? And in the sense of what will people, in terms of what legacy will I leave, so that people can aspire to learn from me. And also again, in terms of, another thing I want to add, in terms of success, like I was discussing with one of my friends at the gym, he was saying that, oh, success is based by luck. I said, not really. I don't believe in luck. Because me, I believe in one thing. Everybody's time is different. We all have our time to shine. Because you can prepare, and you can prepare. I'm talking as a Christian. You can prepare in terms of trying to meet opportunities. But the main thing is, I believe in one thing: God has the final say in where your destiny is meant to be. So that's what I was trying to explain to him about not focusing too much on material wealth to define your success. The main thing in life is your impact and the blueprint you live in people's lives. And then apart from that, also again, like I mentioned after now, success is based on in terms of success is based on God, is based on God's decision. In terms of your time and season to prosper and to shine as a person. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Emeka. Thank you so much, Emeka. Yeah, that it's very true. And many people define success you'll be amazed. People define success very differently, and some people like Emeka has so rightly pointed out, some people focus more on the material things and that when they accumulate things, then they define success that way. Others look at a more philanthropic view of the world, in which the more difference they make to others, then that's what they regard as success. And I tend to agree with that view more than the earlier one. But the conversation we're having today, I'm trying to avoid us getting derailed a little bit in the conversation. Whatever your definition of success is, right? Let me start from there. Whatever your definition of success is, whether your intention this year, I mean, don't get me wrong, don't feel offended if your goal this year is to make $1 million, then go for it. I'm absolutely fine with that. If that's your goal and that's how you want to define your success, then there is a way to get there. You know, so the principles we're sharing today, the tools we're sharing today, are not just limited to you wanting a certain thing or wanting to achieve something or wanting to make a difference. It can apply to whatever your definition of success is, if you understand what I mean. But I do agree with both Paul and Emeka that success is more than just you accumulating wealth. It's way more than that. It has to come to a point where you find meaning to your life rather than adding things to your life, you know, and there is a big difference there. And also what Paul said earlier about getting the balance right, that you know, you just being successful in one area is not good enough. And not just it's not good enough in that area, but it's not good for you as well, because you create tensions in your life. If you're so good at one thing and you do that at the expense of ignoring or neglecting everything else, say neglecting your family, for instance, or you're so busy with your work and you've made so much money, but then you don't have time at home, you don't have time to see your kids, you don't have time to see your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, then that's going to cause problems in your life. It's going to create these stresses. But we'll probably spend another time, another day, to talk about balanced life again. And why is it so important? And we'll talk a lot more about this stress creation, if you like, when you're kind of looking at one area more than the other. So the wheel of life is a really good tool to kind of see how balanced your life is. A few years back, when I did my wheel of life for the first time, it was really skewed. It was on one area, it was really doing well. On the other area, it kind of went like that. And then in this area, it was kind of going in. And it was so funny to see. And then so my challenge was to make sure that the following year, but come the following year, I have to start changing that and bulge it to make sure that it's more of a circle. In other words, the areas that I was not really good at, or I was not giving enough time, then I should try and invest more time in that. So it's very important to kind of look at these things. But like I said last time when we were here, everything that we'll be sharing here, take them as tools. You don't have to take everything that we're saying and say, like, oh, I have to do everything. But these are like tools. They're like nuggets that you can use in your daily journey of success, if you like, and say, that actually works quite well. I think that will work in my case. Oh, that resonates really well with what I'm saying. So yeah, just use it as and when it suits you, really. And I hope that will make a difference. Paul, you have something to say, and then we'll carry on with our conversation.
Something that I learned, that they estimate 1 in 3 people currently is in either survival mode or a chronic stress state or depression even. And somebody pointed out to me that there is not one creature on this planet that does well, health-wise or otherwise, when it's in a stress state, whether it be animals, fish. Nothing prospers or does well when it's in a stress state, including us.
Absolutely. It's just survival, because you know when you're operating in a survival mode, what tends to happen is you just do enough to survive. That's all you do, and therefore you're not thinking of really taking any step forward in your development personally, or even in your relationships, or even mentally, and therefore that really limits your ability to thrive. And that's why gratitude is really important, because gratitude offers you a springboard, offers you a platform to go beyond where you've ever been. You know, because when you're in that positive state, when you're appreciating things around you, it releases you to do things you've never done before, or to do them at a level you've never done before. So it's really important. All these things tie up together really well. Thank you so much, Paul, for that. Anybody else has something to say before I go back to the presentation? One more comment, maybe. If not, then I'll go right back into where we were. And can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to grand design. That's the 5th step, grand design. Probably in the coming weeks, we might spend time talking about the life by design. I think I did this presentation about a year ago, probably, or maybe a bit longer, I can't remember, about life by design, that we need to live our lives by design rather than by chance, because so many times we kind of let things happen to us rather than us being like the architects of our own fate, if you like. So some other time we'll spend more time and talk about life by design. But suffice to say today, step 5 of you setting out your goals is you actually designing your goals. And by this is where you actually start thinking ahead, thinking, right, what do I want to achieve? Where do I want to be in the next 12 months? Because now we're talking about the year. So where do I want to be in the next 12 months? What do I want to achieve in the next 12 months? And remember, you are doing this after you have done your commitment, you've done your year review, you've done your gratitude, you've done your assessment. So you're very well informed at this stage. You know so much about yourself. You know so much about your strengths and weaknesses. You know so much about your mess ups from last year because you've done your review. You know so much about the things that went so great for you. You are so fired up because you have so much gratitude and so much positivity. So you are really looking forward to what you're setting up. You're setting yourself up for what is to come in the coming year. You see, so this is the right time for you to actually set the goals. This is what people would say, I'm setting my goal. This is my plan. Usually it's step 5 they're talking about. But unfortunately, most of the people would try and skip step 1 to step 4 to come to this point, because it's like, it's like the main cause, if you like, if it was food. So what is it? Life willingly pays any wage asked of it, as a famous wise man once said. That in life, whatever you ask for it will pay. If you ask for, if you want to lose 10 pounds in weight this year, you can lose 10 pounds in weight this year. If you want to make £1 million, you can make £1 million. If you want to change your job and start doing something completely different, you can do that. If you want to start your own business, you can, because that's how life is. You can get whatever it is you ask of it. The problem is we do not know how to ask. and basically these steps I've been talking about is a way of asking life of what we want, if you like. It's not abracadabra. There is a formula to it, and this is what we're trying to kind of share, putting it in a humorous way. So what is grand design? Let's see what this entails. So this is where you write down what you would like to accomplish this year. Remember at the very beginning, I said that life not worth documenting is not life worth living. So it's very important to document. This is the time where you are really documenting things. Probably by this time, if you're writing in your journal or in your book, you probably have already written about 4, 5, 6, 7 pages in terms of your commitment, in terms of your year in review, in terms of your gratitude, in terms of your assessment. So you're already in full swing of writing. So the next thing you need to write down is what you want to accomplish this year. And in terms of what you want to accomplish, you need to answer that question in all the categories of your life. Remember the wheel of life. This theme will be recurring so many times, the wheel of life. So when it comes to business, and when I talk of business, I'm not talking necessarily of your own venture, or of your own company, or of your something you've created yourself. If you're employed, your employment is a business. I have a very loose definition of business. Business basically is anything that provides you with livelihood. Okay, the way you make money is your business. So if you're employed and that's how you make your money, then that's your business. So whether that be in business, whether that be in finance, whether that be in relationships, the whole wheel of life and lifestyle, anything, you need to go through it all and decide what you want to accomplish this year. And you need to go through them one by one. Okay. And at this stage, don't filter yourself. This is not the time for you to say, can I really achieve this? Is this really possible? No, this is not the time for it. That time will come. This is not the time for it. This is the time for you to look within yourself and pour out what you really want to achieve, whether you can, whether you feel you can or you don't. You just put it down. You just put it out there. This is what I want to achieve. Okay. When we talk about when we get time to talk about the life by design, we'll talk about BHAG, these big, hairy, audacious goals. And then we'll talk about the SMART goals as well, the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound goals. So we'll talk about them, and that there is a place for each one of them. There is a place for you to think so big, and there is a place for you to really narrow down to what you can do today. Okay, and they're both really important, but that's for a conversation for another day. Where are we? Right. So power of focus. Both polls actually mentioned something about this. Power of focus. You need to be able to narrow down your goals. Now that you didn't filter yourself and you thought about all of these things, you need to narrow yourself down to the things that you really want to focus on this year. So narrow down to 10 goals. If you can get them one from each of the categories, that's good, because you've got 8 categories. So if you get at least one from each, and then maybe some categories might have more than one, brilliant. And then you can narrow that even further down and create 3 banner goals. These are like the things that will determine your year. These are like your barnacles, things that you look back and say that if I achieve these 3 things, then I can say that my year has been a success. Okay, so narrowing down, focusing is really powerful because it gives you that impetus, it gives you that sense of drive and purpose, if you like, rather than just having all these many goals that you haven't really focused on anything in particular. So that is extremely important. I mean, if you like, Paula, I'm more than happy to share the slides with you at the end. I see you taking a photo of it, so I can always send it to you if you like. Just let me know. So that was step 5. Step 6 is I call it the X factor. Okay. Now you may ask, what is the X factor? Do I need to start enrolling for the X factor? When is the next X factor starting? I don't know. The music show. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I've got that sign, but it's not what.
I think it's just finished. I think they normally finish in December. So
oh, so they've just finished. So probably this is the time to apply for the next one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's not what I'm talking about. The X factor, I'm talking about something within yourself. I have this quote by Jim Rohn. I love Jim Rohn. And he says, success is something you attract by the person you become. Okay. So many times we look at success as something out there. You know, I want to achieve that. I want to achieve that. I want to achieve that. Something out there, something you're pursuing, something you're running towards. But Jim Rohn takes a completely different stance. And I totally agree with him that success is what you're becoming. It's not what you're getting. It's what you're becoming. And the best way to guarantee success is for you to become the success, to become the kind of person that would be successful, if you understand what I mean. In terms, and this is what Paul Mhando was talking about earlier. You know, you creating these new habits, these success habits, I call them, or winning habits, where you're doing the right things on a daily basis, and then as a result, success will come automatically. Sometimes we focus so much on what we want to become, or what we want to achieve, or what we want to have, but then we don't pay attention to what we're doing on a daily basis, and that becomes our own undoing. So step 6, the X factor, is all about looking within yourselves and looking at your daily habits and looking at how you can turn your life around, how you can start implementing things in what you do on a daily basis, and be the person that deserves to be successful. Be the person that will attract success. Okay. So in this step, what do you do? For each goal that you've already set in step 5, you need to ask yourself, who do I need to become? Okay. For instance, if you want to be a footballer, first and foremost, before you learn any skills, fitness is very important. I keep telling my son loves football and he plays football, and he's getting better and better at it. I have to give him that. But earlier on, when he used to love football, but he didn't really like to train. So I kept telling him, how are you going to get better at football if you don't like to train? How are you going to get better at football if you don't like to exercise and improve your fitness levels and run and do this and do the other? So the first thing, if you want to be a good footballer, before you start learning the skills, you need to be more resilient, you need to be fitter, you need to develop the muscle to be able to sustain yourself for the 90 minutes of the game. So that's the question you need to ask yourself. If I want to achieve something, who do I need to become? What do I need to have to be able to attract the success that I'm after? Okay, new habits, new disciplines, or behaviors that I need to start. You need to ask yourself, are there new habits and disciplines and behaviors that I need to start? Okay, for instance, you want to be a great motivational speaker, for instance. So you need to ask yourself, what sort of habits do I need? Maybe you need to start reading more books. Maybe you need to start attending more seminars. Maybe you need to start following up and listening to other great motivational gurus and learn from them. So maybe you need to set aside half an hour every day to listen to the Jim Rohns of this world, to the Robert Kiyosaki's of this world, to the Maxwell's of this world, and so on and so on. And maybe you need to read more books. Maybe you need to have a stricter plan to read more books. Maybe a book a month, maybe 2 books a month, maybe 4 books a month. I don't know what your ambitions are. You see where I'm going with this. So you need to create these new habits that will push you to the direction of the goal that you've set yourself in step 5. Okay. Existing health habits that you need to expand. Remember, you've done your year-end review. You've done your life assessment. You've seen areas that you're really good at, the things that you're doing so well, the good, healthy habits that you already have. So you might want to cultivate more on those and really improve them and make them better. You know, so many people think you need to spend to invest more time in areas of your weakness. I take a completely different view. Actually invest more time in area of your strength, and allocate a fixed time to improve your weaknesses. Don't get me wrong, improve your weaknesses, but focus more and put more emphasis on areas of your strength, because it is the area of your strength that is going to determine the quality of your success, not the improvement in your weaknesses. But that's a conversation for another time. But existing health habits, to expand them, is really important. Poor habits that you need to stop, that's the weaknesses thing. So you need to, if from your review from past years and from your life assessment, you see there are areas that you kind of think, maybe these are things I shouldn't be doing. If I want to go here, then these are probably the loads that I need to shed, the burdens that I need to shed and let go. Then this is the time for you to do that, because the X factor is all about the new you, what you need to become, so that 2022 may be a successful year for you. You know, that can be you cutting down on your food portion. This can be you cutting down on your screen time, you know, how much time you spend on telly or how much time you spend on your phone. You know, this could be you cutting down on the time you spend, you know, with people that don't really add value to your life. You know, it could be anything. So, but it's very personalized to you, and you would know these things by now, because if you've done the first 5 steps correctly, you would know what sort of habits you need to get rid of, what sort of habits you need to cultivate and improve and do more of. Implementation and routine. We've talked about the power of repetition. You know, what you do daily is what determines your success. It's not what you've written down. It's not what you keep saying. It's not what you've done at the beginning of the year. It's not your excitement at the beginning of the year even. It's all about what you're doing on a daily basis. This is January. If I look at your routine in June, I can tell whether you're going to have a successful year or not. It's all about implementation and routine. So creating a routine early on is fundamental. It's very important to your success. Okay. So that was step 6. Let's go to step 7. And this is the plan of action. Okay. Now, I have to point out here again, in contrast to a mistake that a lot of people do, and this is another reason why most New Year's resolutions don't work. People just off the cuff, like I said before, jump all the way to step 5 and like, oh, this is what I want to achieve this year. You remember step 5, the grand design? This is what I want to achieve this year. And they may even go to a point of writing those things down, you know, and sometimes it's a shame, because this person will have a journal full of ambitions and wishes. Oh, I want to do this, but they never realize. Why? Because partly they didn't do step 1 to step 4, but also because they didn't do step 7, which is the plan of action. You have these goals, you have these ambitions. This is what you want to achieve, but you haven't really broken it down to what you're going to do down to today, you know, down to now. You know, yes, it's something you want to achieve by the end of the year, but if it's at the end of the year, you could come back in August and still say, yeah, I want to achieve it by the end of the year, because you haven't got to the end of the year, but you've done nothing for 8 months. You see what I mean? So plan of action is where you break it down to what you're going to be doing on a daily basis. This is where you set the milestones. This is where you set the deadlines. This is where you set what do you need to do, what by when. You know, who do you need to meet? Where do you need to learn from? What people do you need to, you know, do you need mentors or not? Do you need coaches? You know, I'm a life coach. I'm a personal development mentor. You know, do you need someone like Charles to help you along the way, to hold you to account to what you're trying to do? You know, and I have a program that I do with my mentees, people that I'm coaching. And it's an annual program that we go through, and it's very similar to what I'm sharing with you here, but it's something that determines what that person would do every single day. And we would have weekly meetings where we would sit down and review those things. That okay, you set up this week to do 1, 2, 3, 4. What have you achieved? You have your what we call a behavior monitoring tracker, where the things you said you do on a daily basis, how many times have you actually done? You said you'll be running 5 times a week. How many times have you run this week? Oh, I've run 3 times. So that's 60%. And you have it like that. And it's a numbers game. And we do all that on a weekly basis. So it's very important to have that plan of action, because that is the one that will hold you to account. Okay. So for each of the goals, do the following: break down to workable chunks. We've already talked about this. Describe who is impacted and how. Now, this is the question of why you do what you do. It's very important. This is a step that a lot of us, we skip to our own detriment. What do I mean by this? If you're trying to make a change in your life, you really need to think how that change is going to impact the people around you. Because if you don't, that eventually will come and bite you in your backside at some point. I'll give you an example. Say you want to make a change in your lifestyle. You want to do more exercises. So you've decided that, you know what, from now on, after work, maybe you finish work at 6 in the evening. Say from now on, after work, I'll be going straight to gym before I go back home for 5 days a week. So what you're saying is that rather than getting home at 6:30 or 7, which is what you would be getting if you left work at 6, you'll be getting home at 9 instead, because you're going to the gym. But then that probably means that you won't be seeing your kids for 5 days. So it has that negative impact on you. Now, what I'm saying here is that I'm not saying that you should stop going to the gym because you won't be seeing your kids, but it's very important to make that assessment at the beginning and do that deliberately, because once you know what sort of impacts your decisions and your changes might make to you and the people around you, you can compensate for it. You can make adjustments to it and make sure that those things don't end up affecting you. Remember when we're talking about the balance? So describing who is going to be impacted by what you do is very important. That's why, like, if you want to buy a house, they'll tell you to do an environmental impact assessment, or, you know, if you're trying to do a new project development you're trying to build new houses, you know, the environmentalists will come and they'll do all their things, their assessments, because everybody is trying to see what sort of impact that those changes will bring to the community. You know, they'll do impact assessment on traffic, for instance. If all of a sudden you build 100 new houses in your neighborhood, what is that going to do to level of congestion in this area? What is it going to do to the air pollution? You know, what is it going to do to congestion in the local schools? Are the schools going to be able to manage? What about the local hospitals? You see what I'm saying? So all these things are tied together, and it's very important down to your individual life to make these kind of assessments. When you're making changes, who is going to be impacted? How is this person going to be impacted? Is it in a positive way? Is it in a negative way? How am I going to compensate for it? Very important, because if you don't, it will come and hold you back eventually. Any assistance needed? Remember, hey, I'm a coach right here. You know, do you need any mentors? Do you need any coaches? You know, this is the time for you to look, because sometimes, and this might come up from your annual review from a previous year. You might have set goals, you might have put your things, what you wanted to achieve, but you realized that you couldn't do it on your own. You tried to do it on your own, you realized you couldn't. So they say, you know, doing the same things and expecting a different result is a symptom of madness. So you don't want to do that. So maybe what you need is a coach. Maybe what you need is a mentor, someone who's going to hold your hand, someone who's going to take you step by step, someone who's going to hold you to account for this year to make sure that you have better success rates in whatever it is that you want to achieve. So you need to assess that at this stage, plan of action. Do I need any mentors? Do I need any coaches? I remember a couple of years back when I was doing my own program and I was setting myself up. There was something that I wanted to do, and one of the things I needed was a mentor in someone who was already in the area of public speaking and training, basically. So I needed someone in that area. So I started looking around and said, so who do I need? I even one of my goals actually written down was to actually befriend a certain person and really be close to that person and be acquainted to that person, because I knew that person would add value to me and that person would be a mentor to me in that area and will really push what I want to do forward. And that was one of my goals, and that's one of the things that I succeeded in doing, and it really made a difference in all the other goals that I set, because I realized that I need the assistance in that area and meeting that person and really adding value to that person, because that's something else. If you're looking for a mentor or a coach, you need to think about adding value to that person so that you can gain something from that person. It's always like that. And so that's something else you need to determine at this stage of your planning. Research needed. Is there something you need to research on? Is there something you do not really know? And this is the question of, where are you going to do that research from? How are you going to acquire that information? Do you need to read books? Do you need to listen to audio tapes? Do you need to go to the library? Do you need to, I don't know, how you do your research. But this is the time you need to determine that, do I need to do some research on these areas? Is there something I do not know? Is this because so many times, and I don't know whether this will resonate with you. I've spoken to so many people, and you ask them, why is it that you haven't achieved this, that, or the other? And they tell you, there is this thing I'm not too sure about. I'm not sure if this happens, what's going to happen. And I'm like, okay, so that has stopped you to do what you wanted to do. So what have you done about it? Nothing. While all that person needed to do was to do a bit of research on what they were not sure about. And once they've clarified that, they could have taken a step straight away. So research is really important. And this is the time to determine what research you need in whatever area you want to set goals on. Resources needed and where to acquire, again, the same as research. You need to determine this before and go for it in the next step. Training, self-development needed, again, same thing. If you need to train for something, this is where you need to determine. For instance, you want to change roles, you want to change careers, this is where you put down that these are the skills I need to do. Maybe I need to add an NVQ skill, maybe I need to add a degree, maybe I need to add a diploma on something. This is where you need to determine it and set goals as to when you want to do it and how you're going to do it. Okay. Again, like I said, in the plan of action, it's all about deadlines. This is all about deadlines. I tell all the people that I am coaching and mentoring that if you come to me, it's all about deadlines. If you tell me I want to do something, I'll tell you, when do you want to do it by? And I don't care, even if it's 6 months down the line, I'm quite happy with that. But if you tell me it's such a long distance, then I'll tell you, okay, now we need to break it down to what you're going to be doing this week about that 6-month period. But eventually it's all about deadlines, so that when you come up, because if you don't have these deadlines, how are you going to assess whether you succeeded or not? And the last thing you want is to come at the end of the year on your review to realize that you failed, because that's your only assessment. So it's important to have these little deadlines where you can kind of see that okay, I've gone through this week, I've not done really well, I can make changes so that next week is successful. Okay, so you're better off to fail in a week and make changes than waiting 6 months and realize you've been failing for 6 months to make changes then. See, so deadlines are really important. Okay, final step 8, take action. Okay. I'm a man of faith. I love the Bible. There is a scripture in the Bible that says faith without works is dead. Okay. Now, everything I've been telling you from the beginning for the past, God knows how long, hour, I don't know, will mean nothing if you don't take any action. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is the most important step. Eventually, you've written down everything, you've filled up massive books of what you want to achieve this year. You must take action. And this is the place where a lot of us fail. We spoke about procrastination at some point last year and indecision. And maybe this year we'll delve into that at some point again, maybe in the coming months. But that is a disease that kills dreams. Procrastination. Procrastination is when you're putting things off. You've got these plans, you've written them down, but you keep putting them off. Indecision is slightly different, but it has the same consequences. This is where you haven't quite decided what you want to do. It's like, I'm not sure whether I want to be a nurse or to go and do a qualification on accounting. And then first year goes, second year goes, I'm still not sure whether to do nursing or accounting. That's indecision. Same problem, same result. Nothing gets done. Okay. So taking action is vitally important. You've done step 1 to step 7. Great. Now, what do you do about it? What are you going to do about it this week? What are you going to do about it this month? What are you going to do about it this year? What are you going to do about it today in the next 24 hours? It's really, really important. Now, you've written down your goals. You've done all your assessments. You've done all your plan of action. You've identified what needs to be done, what, where, and by who, and how, and who it's going to impact, and everything. You need to determine what you're going to do in the next 24 hours. If you don't do something about what your plans are for the next year in the next 24 hours, chances are the 24 hours will be 48 hours, before the 48 hours will be 72 hours, before you know it, it's a week, before you know it, it's a month, before you know it, it's 6 months, before you know it, we are back here again next year, January, talking about this same conversation, and you've done nothing. So you really need to actually, after you've done all the other steps, you need to determine what you're going to do about it in the next 24 hours. If you've not done any of the steps before, then you still need to do something in the next 24 hours. But that might be you starting on step one. Maybe in the next 24 hours, you might have the responsibility to make a commitment to yourself and write that commitment down. And maybe even involve someone else to hold you to account that I'm making this commitment today, that come the end of the year, I want to achieve 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That might be what you need to do in the next 24 hours. Maybe in the next 24 hours, it might be, hang on a second. I like this Charles fellow. He calls himself a coach. Maybe I need a coach. So maybe I'll give Charles a call and ask him a few questions about coaching and to see whether he can add value to my life. That could be your next step in the next 24 hours in your journey to have your best year yet this year. So, but what I'm challenging you right now is to do something about this year in the next 24 hours. Do something about it. Make a step. Make that commitment. Do something about it. Start that journey. If you can start that journey today, if you can make that step today, then that will give you confidence to know that you can make another step tomorrow and the day after. And in 365 days, imagine where you'd be if each day you'll be making a step. Okay? So I've put 2 things here, but this is not exhaustive. So determine what you're going to do in the next 24 hours and also determine what you want to do in the next 30 days. So what you need to do immediately is to determine the action for today, 24 hours, and determine an action for this month. What are you going to do about your plans, about your goals, about your ambitions? Okay. So in a nutshell, guys, that's what I wanted to share with you today. There is something extra about the rolling assessment program, but this is more hardcore. This is more of the program that I use for myself and the people that I'm coaching, but probably that's for another day. But in a nutshell, those are the 8 steps that you need to, if you really want to set goals or New Year's resolutions that are really going to make a difference in your life, then these are the 8 steps that you need to do. And in just a quick recap, first thing is you need to make a commitment. You need to review your previous year. You need to have a life of gratitude. You need to do a life assessment where you go through the wheel of life and look at all the areas of your life to see how you're faring. The 5th one is the grand design, where you're pouring down all your ambitions and what you want to achieve without filtering yourself. And number 6 is the X factor, where you're looking within yourself to see what needs to change in your life, what you need to become. The daily routine, you remember what you need to become, your habits, your behaviors, your disciplines, so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. That was number 6. Number 7 is the plan of action. You need to have a plan of action, how you're going to achieve that, the people you need to do, the people that are going to be impacted, whether you need a mentor or a coach, the resources you need, the research required, all that kind of stuff. Write it down, the plan of action. And the 8th step is you taking action in the next 24 hours and in the first month. Okay? So, yeah, there you have it. What do you think, guys? Let's have a bit of a conversation. We have a couple of minutes before 5. I want to hear from you guys what you think, and then we'll call it a day. The floor is open.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's been a very enlightening. I joined in late. Apologies, I joined, but I really still got a lot of things in the last 5 minutes I joined. The big thing from me from the presentation is just the very last slide. See, the difference between achievers and dreamers. Some people do take actions, and some people, they still remain in la la land and they still keep procrastinating, they keep quiet, they don't do much, they don't take action. So I think that's the big thing. Everything you've said today, a lot of us have had them over and over and over again. They are not new to us. But what will make this year distinct and an amazing one for us in terms of achieving our goals is if we do take action, take daily action, take weekly action, take monthly action, have a vision board, take things off the board from time to time. And I just really wish all of us a wonderful and fulfilling and fantastic year 2022. I really enjoyed this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It's so nice to have you here as well. It's always wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's really true. The final point, taking action, is the difference maker. Eventually it's all about what you do and what you do daily. So the first 24 hours really important. The first week very important. The first month extremely important. Anybody else wants to come in? Emeka, I see you've raised your hand. You will have something to say.
Yeah. Hello. Sorry. Hi. Reading this presentation, this seminar has really been great. It has really made me to focus more on my goals for this year. One of my goals, like last year, reviewing myself last year, was the fact that I was too scared to take a risk in doing anything. One of the good things I would say I was very happy for last year that I got to finish my book, because I've been writing a book. I got to finish it last year. The only thing is that looking for a publisher. And I was having doubts, like putting the book, what if nobody takes me seriously? What if it doesn't make it in the market? But this year I decided, because I'm in the option between two publishers. I've decided, I've given myself, beginning of this week, New Year's week, apart from writing my goals toward the end of last year for 2022, I decided that the first thing I'm going to look at is publishing my book for this year. And last week, no, the week that just passed, New Year's week, the first week of the new year, I was just thinking, because I volunteer with ACA, I'm leading the Ready Men's Group project. I was just thinking in terms of I've spoken to a publisher, and it seems genuine. So I've decided that I still have to think about it during this week, but next week I've decided that I'll take a risk and put this book out there and see how people react to it. Even if it doesn't work out, at least I know I gave it my word. I know I tried. And other goals too, I'm also looking at also.
Oh, well done, Emeka. Take it from me. I'm a fellow book publisher. I've published 10 books. I'm working on my 11th book. You need to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's just take it from me. Some of the books I've published, a lot of people do buy them. But one thing I always say, that books is something that will last a lifetime. So a lot of the books that we're reading now, they weren't written now, they were written in generations before our time, but they are beginning to make sense for us. So you're dropping a gem into not only this generation, but the future generation to come. So do keep it up. If you need help, just contact me, please, because I do right. That's one of the things I took out of out of Dr. Charles' presentation as well, that don't be an island, always ask for help. Asking for help is not a sign of you're not good enough. It's not a sign of weakness, exactly. So reach out, and I will support you. I do self-publish all my books. I don't use any other. I don't use any publishing house, and trust me, it's not very difficult to do.
That's why I love this platform so much. Yeah, it links people from all different angles. Now you can see one person is at the beginning of the journey trying to publish the first book. There's someone else who's done 10 books, has got wealth of experience in that, and here they are. And it's just beautiful, awesome. Thank you, Nikkei. Thank you, Emeka. Any other comments, guys?
Just I think about journaling, Charles. I think that is writing stuff down, getting negative thoughts out of your head before you go to bed at night, so you're not going to bed and waking up with them again in the morning. Try to go the last thing at night to get all the bad things out of your head, and so because generally if you go to sleep slightly anxious, you won't sleep very well, but you'll wake up anxious thinking about what you were thinking about when you went to bed. So you've got to try and clear that head and have something positive in mind ready for the morning, so you'll wake up with that positive what you're going to do in the morning. And about the book, a friend of mine, I don't know if it's worth thinking about. I haven't even looked to see how well she's done with the book, but she put it on Amazon Kindle, and she made it free for so many days to people to review, close people that she knew could get the book free. As long as they did a review of the book, and it just gets the ball rolling. I don't know if that's an option. It was just something I wanted to throw in there in the mix, just in case it's something that hadn't been thought of or discussed, just helping out really.
Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely, Paul. Everything helps, and yeah. And so if it's something that you think is worth a try, Emeka, or anybody else for that matter, who's trying to publish or write a book, or interested in that thing, then by all means give it a try. That's what this meeting is all about. We're trying to help each other in our individual journeys, and really enrich ourselves in whatever it is that we want to do, and really use these as tools and springboards to really enrich our journeys and make the most of the little time that we have here on earth. Now, before we come to the end, I just wanted to invite Cecily Mwaniki. If Cecily, you're around, please. If you have any final remarks you wanted to say about this program or about your own programs, you're more than welcome to say it now. Cecily, are you here?
I'm here, Charles. I couldn't miss the first, session.
Thank you.
Very empowering. I was holding on to my comments because I know how rich it is. The power of connections, and as you have handed, it's about we draw our inspiration from the inspirations of others, but you cannot get that until and unless you connect. Hearing about Emeka and how far he is now with the book, Emeka, I can only, congratulate you and wish you all the best as the book goes out there. I know how much you have put into it. And a book is the biggest business card you can ever have. Yeah, so please go for it. So Charles, thank you so much, because we didn't need this forum more often than we actually think. Without that, we can never know as a community we are there. And the other forums that have continued, I know we have had a short break, festive period break. We are resuming next week, especially the Thursday conversations. It would be nice to see you all there and bring in ideas and topics that we need to focus on, and the people we need to bring in, those who are in the mainstream services, because what we are trying to do is to boost our well-being through the different initiatives that we are having. And the 13 of us here, we all have different ideas. So if we brought that every now and again, we can only thrive, flourish and thrive as a community. So please zoom in on Thursdays. I always send some information through Charles. I see a few others here as well. So Lilian, you can see Emeka is joining us in this. So please send the Zoom contacts through your different for bring these ideas together. Lilian.
Yes, Cecily.
Brilliant, yes. So that's
Yes,
all from me.
I can hear you.
Yes, lovely to see you there, Lilian.
Yes, lovely to see you too.
Thank you so much, Cecily. I mean, in case, for those who don't know who Cecily is a legend, guys. Cecily is, and it's very important to honor the giants in our communities. And Cecily, by all standards, she is among the giants in our communities, and certainly a champion in the area of mental health and well-being. Her programs are fantastic. I've been part of her programs. As a delegate, as a presenter, as just a listener, and it's fantastic. They're talking about conversations about well-being, about mental health, about different aspects of life that do affect us on a daily basis. But she goes even a bit farther. She engages the public sector and the statutory services in the conversations, so that changes may not just be implemented at a personal level, which is the biggest focus of my presentations, personal development, but she wants changes to take place also in the public eye, in the public forum as well. So she's done a fantastic job. She's also a prolific writer herself. She just hasn't mentioned. How many books have you published so far, Cecily? Is it 3 or 4?
Ooh,
or 30? How many?
13 books.
13 books. Oh my goodness, my apologies. So she's a prolific writer. She's a well-accomplished author. And she's just a wonderful person to meet, and I'm so honored that we have her in this platform with us, and all the others as well.
Thank you for your kind ones.
Thank you so much, Cecily. Anybody else has something else to say before we wind up? It's already 5. I would like us to wind up.
Just to say thank you to Cecily, really. Mental health being something I personally have experienced years ago, and I think in the current situation, it's something unfortunate that's being very much overlooked. All the focus is there's several elephants in the room, and they're only focusing on the one elephant at the moment, and I think that needs to change.
Yeah, please do join us, Paul. Our focus has always been around well-being and mental health being one of the key ones, because really, by nature, we all have mental health. Yeah, we did all have it. What we all don't have is a mental illness. And if we can keep each other well by normalizing those conversations,
Absolutely.
take away the stigma around it, and try to seek the support that we need, because we all have it.
If I had a hat, I'd take it off to you, my love.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you so much, guys. I mean, on that note, let's call it a day. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. I hope you found these conversations really useful to you. Like I said before, whatever you find useful in this conversation, use it as a tool to enrich your life, and let us all be ambassadors of change in our communities. So let's stir up these conversations in your own little forums, in your own little circles. And I usually share these videos on YouTube as well. We have a channel where we have all these videos. So if you get these videos, please share far and wide with others as well, so that others even in the future can go back and reflect upon the conversations we've had here today and really benefit from it. And on that note, have a fantastic weekend.